Hello, I'm Jason Bernard, the current Vice Chair of APCO's Commercial Advisory Council. I'm pleased to introduce the next in our chapter videos, this time where we ask the CPRA chapter what's working in their area and how we can help as commercial members. Please enjoy what they had to say. Thank you.
My name is Tim Buckfeller, and we represent Southern chapter of APCO, CPRA. So we have all the southern region of California, which is just a massive population number to deal with. And so I'm the current president this year.
Been APCO member since 1989. I've been the CCAM, that's the chapter commercial advisor, probably for 10 years now. And prior to that, I was an assistant to the previous CCAM, who was also at least 10-year tenure.
From my perspective, because I come from the operations side, I'm a current dispatch supervisor, and I deal with all the technical requirements and orders that we deal with in our center. So it's huge to know. In fact, I just had a conversation with another PSAP manager who said the ability to have those conversations, whether it's monthly, bi-monthly, once every 6 months, and interact with the vendors at a meeting is just invaluable to know them by face, by name. And so the CCAM really helps, not only bring in those vendor partners, but it makes it comfortable. Because, if a vendor were to walk into a room full of whether they were just dispatchers or just radio techs, depending on their role or what product they're selling, they might not be as comfortable. But to have other vendors in the room, you can just see there's a camaraderie that goes on.
And you can also start noticing that the commercial members that are supporters of APCO are really welcomed to our meetings more and more once they get acclimated to the members that are at the meetings monthly or at least quarterly, and they start knowing who's going to be there and why it's a good thing for them to be there, and occasionally get up in front of everyone and talk about what they do and why they're a member. I believe the primary role is to be the chief fundraiser for the chapter. Besides being that liaison with the commercial community, it's really putting on an annual vendor showcase where the vendors pay for everything, and the members get to come in and see the wares of all the vendors. And at the end of that show, we pocket a lot of money for the chapter, and it takes care of it's our primary moneymaker. I think we make more money off of that than we do from APCO International giving us a piece of the membership pie.
It's the foundation of the chapter that you can't really host anything if you don't have funds in the bank. And every now and then the Western chapter comes, or the Western Conference comes around, and in order to do that, you have to have financial backing to sign the contracts for the hotels, to sign all those contracts. So a solid chapter is going to have a decent bankroll so they can do larger events. I know that we've seen some chapters where they've had to support other chapters, and that's great. You see that bond across even state lines where they're willing to help out an entire other state and help fund them. Well, that state that was able to fund them probably had a really active chapter in CCAM, probably big population numbers. Those are all, obviously critical elements. But I can certainly echo what Larry was saying with the vendor showcase. It's a day to come in. We invite everyone, come for free, have lunch for free, and that's all supported by the vendor community, who is more than willing. They want to fund the chapter. They want to fund events because they want those the connections with the PSAPs.
And for our typical showcase, since it's only about 3/4 of a day long, people can come in that aren't funded for overnight travel. They can come in, they can see a lot of the vendors that have products that they actually use in their day-to-day work environment, and also sit in on one or two of the presentations that we have lined up every hour.
Basically you're opening it up to folks that might never go to, I've known people my entire career, they've never been to a national show. And for some of them, they've never even been to a local or regional show. They simply don't get out. So the closer we're able to bring these events to people, even just physical distance, if we can bring in an hour or two where they just have to drive that short of a distance, you at least have the opportunity to get them involved, get them tied into that community, whether it's the vendors or the operations side. So yeah, no, I think they're critical, because if you only had a show that danced around the nation, the number of people that could go to Ohio, that could go to Florida is so small.
Well, I think it really gives the general commercial membership the idea that they really have a say in the board's activities and the chapter activities, and they're not just there to be, the money bags. They actually are a partner. And from my point of view, our board has always looked at the CCAM's advice as extremely important, and has always asked, well, what would the commercials think if we did this? So it's to me, it's just a step in the right direction. And I know there's probably still a couple chapters that don't allow their CCAMs to vote, and I think it's very short-sighted.
I think at the core of it, that you're all on a level playing field. I think sadly, even something as simple as a vote could have kind of an us and them impact. Where the voting members, that they might have a little leg up, where I really have a feeling that everyone that attends our meetings, whether it's the executive meeting, that everyone has a say, and there's certainly a respect that goes along. I mean, everybody's a volunteer. Um, but I think that when it comes to important decisions, those everyone's history, what they bring to the table, are all critical. And I had a great story. So our last meeting, how important I think it is for the CCAM to not only be there but be involved. We take time. Larry will take a moment to introduce everyone, and just by introducing himself, his company, two of the brand new managers from a couple PSAPs, they both were like, "Hey, I'm going to go talk to Larry." So that interaction, just of him physically being there and being involved, I think a lot of folks in the vendor community, they're missing out on an opportunity. And so if I highly recommend, if they're not involved in these meetings, to get involved. When we talk about that vendor showcase, it is a phenomenal job that they do. I know he doesn't do it single-handedly. He has some partners that help him, but I mean, we're talking over hundreds of vendors that participate between the north and the south. Our I guess a shout out to our northern chapter folks, our NAPCO. They work hand in hand on this event that in the vendors. It's incredible. I mean, I was absolutely stunned, because I've been to a few of them over the years, and just the growth that we've seen, and even the attendance. Um, they've done a very good job of balancing training to pull in the operations side, and the vendor community that comes out in droves.
Yeah, and I would stress to all the chapters to have as many meetings per year as you can. At least try to have a monthly meeting, and if you can't do that, at least have one every other month, where you get the commercial members and the active chapter members together, face to face, talking about issues, and and getting to know each other. It makes a lot of difference.